Right, let's do it. So today I'm going to be speaking to Lawrie Wilson, who's a former footballer for Charlton and Bolton. How's it going? You okay?
Yeah, I'm good. Thank you, Danny. Thanks for having me.
No problem. Thanks for your time. Thanks for coming on. How are you at the moment? How's life?
Very good. Very busy. This actually this weekend was the first weekend I've we had three parties in 2 days, three kids parties in 2 days. So that was my first sort of like weekend of kids parties that I've dealt with, and it was three in one weekend. So yeah, busy. I'm on a little bit of a kind of a downward spiral from the weekend, but all good.
Good stuff. Now, I know what you're saying. When it comes to kids' parties, like I said off air a minute ago, I've got two kids, so I've been through, I'm still actually going through it where you go to parties for weekends and stuff. And yeah, especially when it's you and you don't really know the parents and it's a bit, you don't know who
Yeah.
to speak to and stuff like that. But yeah, no, I know where you're coming from that perspective. Obviously, you've made the transition from being a footballer to working in kind of the working world, so to speak. So, talk to me about kind of what you're up to nowadays.
Yeah, so I mean, it probably started for me about 5 years ago. My brother-in-law and his business partner owned a financial service company,
Hmm.
which was the Will You Financial Group. At the time, it was only called Will You Invest, which was an asset management company,
Sure.
and they started that up. Along the way, a year or so in, they decided to start an FX company, which where they use foreign exchange. So if you're buying or selling any properties abroad, that they can do that rate for you. If you've got any goods or services that you're exporting or importing, it's quite a very very good benefit for them.
Mm.
So my brother-in-law reached out to me probably a year or so into him having the business, and basically said to me, "Look, you're over 30." He was like, "You're coming to an end."
Yeah.
Sort of had that sort of frank conversation and just said, "Look, have you thought about sort of where you're going to, where you're leading?" And I'd done a degree. I'd done, the coaching badges. I'd done all of those
Yeah.
usual traits that players are kind of get told to do.
Mm.
Um, and I wasn't really sure, wasn't 100% sure where I wanted to go. And he said, "Look, we're thinking about expanding the business. We're thinking about growing it into, at this time it was about a life and health insurance brokerage,
Okay.
having that arm within the asset management company."
Mm.
And they said, "Look, it aligns quite nicely with you. We worked very closely with Vitality, and it was kind of like, look, do you want to be a shareholder? Do you want to come in and actually experience that?" And at the time, I was still full time,
Mm.
which was great for me because actually I was still playing football, what I love doing. And on a Wednesday, on my days off, I would go in the office and I would just sort of sit around the boys. And honestly, didn't have a clue what was going on. They just really tried to make those Wednesdays packed out with meetings, whether
Right.
that was going and meeting people that we could maybe connect with, or some were good, some were bad, and
Yeah.
we went to so many meetings, and I learned so much in that time.
Mm.
Um, that yeah, we then decided that we were going to go down the life and health insurance package, and so we started that up.
Mm.
And in my time, it then got to, I'd probably say it was when the pandemic hit actually,
Okay.
that I kind of had a sit down conversation, like a frank conversation with my wife at the time and my family, and just said, "Look, I don't think that football is probably going to be the same again. Obviously, the Premier League, the top leagues are always going to fall back on their feet. That's okay.
Yeah.
They've got the money to, but I just felt lower down the leagues that it wasn't going to be the same. Those sort of year contracts were probably then going to go towards non-contracts and
Yeah.
pay as you kind of play and things like that. And I
Yeah.
just thought, I'm not ready for that. I don't want to keep seeking out at 33, 34, 35 1 year contracts, or
Yeah.
going on trial and things like that. And I
Mm.
just thought I can actually benefit more in growing my own business.
Mm.
um, that benefited me so much more, and I could potentially earn more money doing that than actually playing football. And it was a stage where I just said, "Look, I'm going to go part time, I'm going to go full time in the company, and I'm going to grow the business with my business partners being my brother-in-law and my business partner. So that was a really big decision, but a decision that kind of had to be made, because if that wasn't made, I probably wouldn't have gone fully in.
Yeah.
And so that kind of started. I then went part-time. I then signed for Billericay.
Okay.
And that helped me because I was able to still get my football fix. I was still able to, on a Tuesday night, Thursday night, play football, train, be around some group of lads, Saturday playing a game. And it allowed me for the whole day to concentrate, Monday to Friday on the business. So it's a really nice transition for me. And then we opened up now, Will You Insure? So this is insurance brokerage, again, general insurance, business insurance, so your cars, your fleets, houses, business, PI, all of those insurances that we now cover as well.
Yeah.
And wills and estate planning. So as a package, the Will You Financial Group, what we try to offer is a one-stop shop for all your financial services. So you come to us and you don't have to be involved in all of them. You may want your life insurance looked at, you might want private healthcare, you might want your business insurance protection, like all of those things, and we'll do that for you. But actually, if you then go, oh, actually, I've got a pension that I want to be looked after, I want, all of those things, that suddenly you're speaking to me and it's all within one group, and you know who you're talking to, and if you've got any problems, you're phoning me, you're not on a call center, all of those things. So that's how the business has grown. That's kind of where we're at the moment, and that was kind of my journey to now, really, as what I've been doing.
Wow, what a journey! That's amazing, and it sounds great. And obviously, I want to touch on a little bit more about that a bit later on. But I suppose you mentioned, obviously, you had help from your brother-in-law. He's kind of reached out to you, and I'm assuming that made your transition a little bit more easy. You had more faith and more trust in it because you had that natural connection with that person. But I suppose on top of that, you'd probably say, me looking at it from the outside, did it make your transition easier because it was your decision to actually step away from the game, as opposed to you've got injured, what next?
Yeah, 100%. And I've always lived by that with my wife. I've always said I want to come to a point where I'm making my own decisions. And I always feel that a lot of footballers probably do struggle because they continue too long, or they've been unfortunate and they have had an injury, and they've had to retire, which of course is going to have some trauma. There's going to be sort of after effects of that. But for me, it was always about there's a point where I can make my own decision, and I'll be so much happier that I've made my own decision, and I've kind of made my bed, and, rather than sort of being told, you can't play anymore, or I'm not going to give you another contract, and actually, Danny, the first year that I signed at Billericay, and even now, to be honest with you, it was the first time that money, it wasn't about, obviously I've got a family to look after, and although it's not your forefront that when you're playing football, it's not about I've got to feed my family, I've got to do this isn't it. You just go and play football, and thankfully and gratefully that the money is there, that comes in every month, and you don't think twice about it. When actually I kind of stepped away and I was like, I'm now playing football not for the money, not for contract, not for anything else. Like, it literally was paying like my petrol money, that kind of thing, that it was like the money was irrelevant. Like it wasn't something that I was like, oh, I must have this money each month, otherwise I can't live. It was like, no, actually I'm going to go and play football, I'm going to enjoy football, I'm going to enjoy the environment, I'm going to enjoy the club, I'm actually going to talk to the fans and kind of immersed in it, because actually when you're professional or full-time professional, you turn up, you do your job, you go home, you get paid, and it's kind of a little bit like that, really. So it was really enjoyable, and it was a really nice time that actually I'm actually able to now go to training, go to football free.
That completely makes sense. I mean, I've said to so many people, it's not until sometimes you retire from football or sport, and then it's then when you speak to people outside of it, it's like, oh, actually, I did achieve quite a lot. But then when you're involved in it, it's like very rarely get involved in interactions with the fans and things like that, unless it's like an event put on by the club and you have to attend. And you go to work, you train. It is essentially a job. You go train your hardest, play your games, and then go home. And you are, as you get older, you're thinking about that next contract and how lucrative is that going to be for me and my family? How long is it going to be? And you touched on it earlier. I got to the stage when I was 30, 31, and I was thinking, it's just going to be year on year where I'm going to be looking for a new club all the time. And I just thought, whilst I was still fit, I could still play. But I just thought, well, long term, I'm still going to have to try and find a job. So I'd rather just step away from the game sooner rather than later. So it seems like we've gone in the same, well, I wouldn't say the same direction, the same train of thought in terms of that
exactly.
process.
I definitely think that a lot of people, you know, you've had that same mindset that you've got to that 30, 31, 32 and kind of been like, well, if I continue to do this for this struggle, let's say, trying to find clubs for another 3 or 4 years, and if you're fit, you know, you might manage to get to 36, 37. But actually, you're then, if you flip it on its head and you come away from it, you're 5 years further down the line than you could have been 5 years earlier and building something.
Yeah, 100%, 100%. You mentioned obviously you've gone into the financial services sector and you've had that help and things, which is great. In terms of like qualifications, accreditations to build up your credibility in order for you to then speak confidently to customers and prospective customers, how did you go about that?
So to start with, it was a whirlwind for me. I came in and actually, because I'm an owner of the company, it was very tough because I was probably the least experienced, yet kind of up here with my 2 business partners, and the employees underneath. And actually, when you break it down, the employees knew more than I did. So I very much felt like I need to get my hands dirty. I was like, I need to be in the mix. I need to be an admin person. I need to be a protection specialist. I was like, I need to, you know, do the Excel spreadsheets. And I turned Excel on, and I was just like, whoa. I was like, I've not done this since I was like 15 at school. Like it's kind of just all those things coming back to you again. And that was my role in it. My role was like, get my hands dirty, get going. And I decided that I was like, right, well, if I am going to talk to clients, I need to make sure that I've got the right qualifications. And through the business, we was able to put me on courses whilst I was on the job. Which obviously helped. So, you know, you suddenly get, you know, your RO5, RO7s in insurance and stuff. And once you've got those, listen, you don't need to have them. But it makes life a lot easier when you do have them and when you're talking to people. So for me, it was doing that role. It was learning that, because I always thought that eventually, when I do come away from doing the day-to-day bits of the company and we've allowed it to grow and we've got people, you know, employees underneath and stuff, actually being able to speak to them on a level and understanding what that role entails, what the admin role entails, what the broker role entails, like what all those roles are. I can actually have that conversation and I know what they're talking about. So when they come back to me and start speaking, you know, the lingo of certain things, I'm like, oh yeah, I know that. But actually, if I hadn't been involved in it, I wouldn't have a clue. I'm like, what does that mean? What does that mean? What does that mean? And listen, I'm still learning. There are certain things that I'll look and be like, not sure about that, don't know what that is, and that's where you have the help of, you know, the employees that are there, the providers that we're talking to, is to pick their brains, is to be on you know, little seminars. That they do a lot of seminars where you can kind of sit, have it on, listen in the background, and you learn quite a lot from that. So that was my take on it, was just get down, get dirty, get involved in it, and you'll learn and you'll take the most from that. Because I didn't know, you know, we were speaking about soft skills and stuff, and I didn't know anything about Excel. I didn't, you know, held the pen and your hand starts hurting again after 2 lines of writing.
Yeah.
It's just getting those sort of like motor skills going again and
Yeah.
getting those hand strength going again, because they're things that you haven't used. This, even though you might, sign a couple of autographs and stuff, like how often, when I did my degree, I'm writing like 5,000 words and stuff, and I'm like, where has this come from? And it's just getting back into that routine of work, and I think that once you do get into that, you start to understand where you succeed and where you're quite powerful at and where you're quite knowledgeable at. Until then, you probably sit back and you sit on the fence and you're always never too sure what you're good at, what you're not good at. Whereas I was like, right, the Excel spreadsheets was a surprise to me, but I found that over the last couple of years, it's been quite something I've enjoyed.
Okay.
I've enjoyed kind of doing the payrolls and stuff like that. So actually, it's been quite a nice thing. So that's what I would say, that more beneficial. I now know, Danny, more of where I want to be positioned within the business now than I would have done when I first come out, owned a business, and was like, right, I'm just going to be an owner. And I'm not sure how to manage, not sure how to be with people and stuff. Whereas now I look and I think, right, well, okay, the admin role is great. I'm not too sure that's me. A broker, that's okay as well. I can speak to people about the product, but that's maybe not me. And then I look and go, well, maybe the payroll side of it, maybe it's not me, but I enjoy doing it. And then you just find that level where you're like, well, actually, I enjoy going out and meeting clients. I enjoy going and playing golf with them. I enjoy going to social networking events. Like, I enjoy those. So actually, if that makes me bring in business and it's more beneficial for me and the business, go and do it. Because actually, what's the point of me sitting behind a desk doing work that I'm not great at doing it. I don't really enjoy doing it, when actually we could get somebody else to do that and I can go and do something else.
Sure.
So, yeah, good.
100%. Yeah, that fully makes sense. In terms of your transferable skills, what have you taken from football in your experiences whilst playing football, your highs and your lows? What have you taken from that in order for you to be able to do what you're doing now?
So every player is different, and I think that you can take it goes back to finding what you enjoy and finding what you're good at. But if I just take a general kind of football club, you have to be at certain places on time. You have to be presentable. You have to have dedication. You have to have determination. You have to have a drive. Like you have to have all of those things. And I think that when you think of it in the football world, you're just like, oh yeah, I'm just playing football, I'm just doing that. But when you take it away and you look into a business, those skills are exactly the same, but just in a different environment. I always relate it back to as a player, you may have had it yourself. You go to a new club, you are picked up, you're at one club that you've been for a year, 2 years, however long it is, friends, everyone knows you. You are suddenly picked up and you are plonked into a completely different team and environment, and you swim. Like that is incredible. And players don't understand that. Like, it is an incredible trait to be able to do that. And you just think that because that's the way of football, that's the norm in football. Like that, most people couldn't do that in a business world. That they struggle to move from places to place and find a home and players do it all the time. And when you take that away and you go into business, you think, right, I'm going to get plonked into a business here. I don't know anybody. And you use those skills of getting to know people and going out and whatever that looks like. So that for me is a really big kind of example of how good we are as footballers in different environments and different mindsets, and actually transferring those over into a business. Also, someone like a captain, a captain doesn't realize the role that they play, and that's looking after a team of a squad of 22 players. Like you are that player's eyes and ears. You literally are the middle person between the manager and the players.
Yeah.
Like, if you're successful and you've won cups and won trophies and had really successful teams, like, you know, going into a business, you've got to look at that and think, well, okay, I can be that person. I can lead a team. I
Yeah.
can know how to be a people person. I know how to, you know, if I feel that one's not doing great, go and speak to them. Like all of those things that people just can't envision what it looks like in a business because they've only got pictures of it in a football club.
Yeah, 100%. Yeah, I completely agree with everything you've mentioned there. And it's interesting because, like you said before, when you're involved in the team environment and you've got to be here at a certain time, you've got to wear a certain thing, and you kind of you've plunked in a new team and you just get involved. And it's like you said, sink or swim, and you just do it innately. It's like in your psyche to do it, and then you can obviously utilize those skills in the workplace and in other environments, and it just becomes natural. But if you compare that to your average person who's maybe left school, gone straight into a working environment, it's completely different to them. And I see it all the time in the office when I go in, and I've recently started a new job myself, and people are asking me, "Oh, like, are you going to be nervous on your first day?" And I'm like, "There's nothing for me to be nervous about. I'm going in there. I'm just going to go and learn the ropes and then get on with it." So
you go in and do your job, right?
That's it. Exactly.
And then kind of the rest of the stuff is there. Like you're just doing your job.
Yeah.
Like what you do in football, you go to another place and you do your job.
That's it. 100%. Going back, I'm slightly older than you, but I know in terms of like information and awareness, there's a lot more things that are readily available now to athletes with regards to retirement and how they should approach it, and different kind of methods that they can use to utilize and help them with that transition. But whilst there's still a lot of information out there, there's still a lot more that can be done from all quarters, parents, athletes, clubs, and whatever else. Do you think retirement should be approached in a different way?
Politically, or no. Listen, I think that it's still so far away, so far away of understanding how players are after finishing football. I honestly don't think that they, as in when I say they, as in, you know, the FA and the PFA and all the rest of the environments that around football, I honestly don't think that they understand the impact it has on players. And it might not even be within the first year, it might not even be within the second year. You can look 10, 15 years down the line and you still see certain players having those same things. I ran a poll recently on LinkedIn and just asked, you know, what out of like these four things, like if you transitioned from a sport, like what was your main worry? And you know, and I had so much reaction from it of like what people were commenting on and what ones they said and stuff, and I was just like, this is incredible, because all of these people, and they weren't all football, they were from all different sporting backgrounds, all different ages, everything, and it all kind of came down to like one thing, and it is that transition. It is literally because they're so spent that they've spent all of their youth doing the same thing, that then suddenly it's completely changed. So something still isn't right. It's not being right. They are trying a lot harder and they are doing a lot more within it, probably from a younger age. Something that we want to do actually as a company is we want to be able to be a platform for players, any sport. It doesn't have to be football, but any athletes. We want to be a platform for them, so that, because I've come up with a few things really where you end up having like a program for them, kind of like an academy as such, but because of what we offer at the financial group, you know, you've got your asset management, you've got your pensions, you've got your FX, you've got your life and health insurance, you've got general insurance, you've got wills and estate planning. Like you've got all of these different sectors. Not many companies you can go into and have different sectors.
Yeah.
And I honestly think that how I transitioned in coming in once a week on your day off, you come in once a week and you sit down for a month, once a week, so 4 times, and you sit with the investment side of the business. You understand what it is, what it takes, like being in that work environment role, and then you go and work with the life and health insurance department, and you look at what they do, and you by the time you come away, whether you want to do anything within that sector, you will have a better picture of what you actually want and where you want to be next. Whereas I think that so many players come out and they don't have a path, they don't have a platform where they can learn, where they can see what they actually want to do. And I think it can be so powerful that even on players' days off, that there should be some sort of apprentice schemes and stuff like that where they're going to, because it's a waste. It is honestly a waste.
100%. I mean, I mentioned something similar to that just over a year ago, where I said, if there was something when I was a player that was a bit more tangible, rather than doing a course just for the sake of doing it, maybe going to work in an estate agent for a week or a month or whatever it is, just to get to know how people interact on the phones and just to shadow someone, or maybe going and working in a warehouse or working in different sectors. And like you said there, you may go into one sector and think, this ain't for me, I'm not really kind of feeling this one. But then you could go to another one, it's like, okay, well, actually, this is a bit of me, I could see myself doing that. But irrespective of what the outcome is, you've grown as a person, you've seen what it is to work in the average working world environment. And that could lead you to other kind of sectors or other kind of opportunities. It just brings you out of your comfort zone. And essentially, if you look at it, unless you're in the Premier League for a period of time, you're always going to have to work afterwards, whether it's like yourself setting up your own business or working for someone else or whatever. So you need to understand that. And I think a lot of athletes are stuck in that bubble, so to speak, where it's like the athlete first and then it's like the person second, when in theory it should be the other way around.
Definitely. Yeah, totally agree. And I was at my era within football was very much, I used to come on the coach on away trips and I would take my laptop and I would revise and I'd be studying, or I'd have a book, and it was like, to start with, it was all taking the mickey, and then after a while they just get bored of it, and it's kind of like you're just there doing your work.
That's it.
Yeah, but it's it's that trying to just benefit yourself later on, rather than be there and be like anybody else. But that is something I really truly believe, that if you can get some sort of apprentice scheme or something within football. I've actually had a player recently who's actually playing in League Two, and he's actually messaged me to ask if he can actually come into the business. And he said, look, he said we actually have Thursdays off. He said, I'm injured at the moment. He said, so I've had to be going in. But he said, once I'm back, he said, I'd love to come in. He said, and do basically what I've just explained there, is go into a couple of weeks and just, look at the different sectors, look at the different groups and see where you're at. Because like you said, if you come away and you've learned something, great. If you've come away and, you've learned that you don't want to do that, you're in a better position knowing what you want to go through in future, rather than you standing there thinking, I still don't know what I want. I still don't know if I'm good at admin work. I still don't know if I'm good at finances. I don't know what I'm good at still yet. Also, like you said, the timekeeping, coming in in the morning, having a lunch, that's the benefit. And I think I listened to one of yours recently, the Boateng one, and he said that I wanted to be my own boss, sort of thing. I wanted to be on my own times, and that's something that I also wanted. For me, Danny, family is everything, and my time with my family is the most important thing to me. And being able to wake up, take my son to school, pick my son up, like if need be, and like all of those things. And my wife works within the business as well, so it's all very much like we work hard, but actually also being able to go and pick my son up from school and drop him off is something that you sometimes will never be able to do in other sectors and other businesses. And also, I didn't want to wear a tie and a shirt and a suit, and I didn't want to be that person. And I was like, I want to be comfortable, and we wear smart casual in the office. Like, it's an open plan office where we're all kind of back and forth within the sectors, and it's a really nice environment. And listen, it's not football, it's not a changing room, it's not all boys, shouting and hollering. It's not that, but a very close part to that, and being open and having open conversations within an office is nice.
Yeah, 100%. Yeah, and I think based on kind of the culture environment that you've just mentioned there, a lot of companies have kind of, we've all been through COVID. People's mindsets change now. From an employee's perspective, we kind of demand more. We want that work-life balance, and a lot of companies have had to kind of pivot. And obviously now it's a case of people asking about kind of flexibility, hybrid roles, and things like that. So yeah, definitely agree with everything you mentioned there. In terms of, you've kind of answered it already, but I want you to touch on it just a little bit. Any advice that you'd give to any athlete in any sport at any age? Kind of what advice would you give with regards to aiding your transition from sport to another career?
Yeah, so I mean, my answer to that question would be, along your journey, try to get as many strings to your bow as possible. So whether that's, I didn't know what I wanted to do, but I knew that if I did a lot of things on the way to transitioning and finishing, I'd be in a better position. So I took my Pilates instructor. So I'm a Pilates teacher.
Okay.
So, I did my UEFA B license. I did a degree in broadcasting, sports writing, and journalism. First in that. So all of those things, and I haven't used it, and I don't need to use it, and at the moment I don't want to use it. But I've got different things within it, so that when I came away from football, it was very much, if I've got a degree, I can go and be a teacher. I can go and be a PE teacher. So all it does is it opens pathways for you. So that would be my advice, is to get as many things as you can on board, whether that's certificates, whether that's qualifications, whatever that looks like, because when you do finish, it opens more pathways for you.
Awesome. That's great advice, mate. So anyone that's listening, for me, I'd echo every sentiment that you mentioned there. Like I said before, appreciate you coming on. Really appreciate your time. If you want to just let everyone know kind of the name of the company, where we can find you, as in you personally on the socials, and also if we can find your company anywhere on socials as well, please.
Yeah, so the company is called Will You Financial Group. We're on obviously LinkedIn, Instagram. I'm on personally on Twitter, which is Lawrie_Wilson, I think it is. But yeah, please, I mean, all the links and everything are on there. So if you do want to follow, if you do want to reach out to me, if you do want to come in the office, by all means, we are an open door and an open floor, and we'll welcome anyone.
Awesome. Well, I wish you all the best. Sounds like you're onto good things, so hopefully that continues moving forward.
Brilliant. Thank you so much for your time, Danny. Appreciate it.
All the best.
Cheers, mate. Thank you very much. Bye.
Bye-bye.